Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. The UFC Fight Night Almeida vs. Lewis takes place tomorrow evening. I am here to give my picks and preview every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener, working our way up the card. I do apologize, this video was supposed to come out a couple of days ago, but we had some tech issues. It is what it is. We are here now, so let us get started right away with the early prelim opener, a lightweight bout between FERNANDES versus Marc Diakiese. I'm going to be going with the newcomer, Fernandez. I just think that at this stage in the game, man, Marc Diakiese is too inconsistent for me to pick him, especially if the UFC's website is correct. He's listed as a favorite, which I'm not quite... I don't understand how they could have him as a favorite. I understand that this guy is going to be making his debut, but from what we've seen from Fernandez, an 8-1 record, bunch of finishes, submissions, knockouts, he can go the distance also. And then a guy in Diakiese who, while he is fighting really good competition, is 7-7 in the UFC. That's horrible. I'm honestly not sure why or how he hasn't been cut yet. Maybe he just wins enough to be able to renew a contract or what have you, but his longest win streak ever was 3 fights, and it was his debut onward. And we're talking like 7 years ago. So ever since then, he's been unbelievably inconsistent. He shows a lack of fight IQ in moments. Like, he is very capable skill-wise, but he doesn't seem to be able to put it all together when it matters. His chin is solid, okay, because this guy's gone to decisions with both Michael Johnson and Rafael Fizievi's, never been finished in terms of the stand-up. However, in his last two out of the 3 of his last losses, he was submitted. Fernandez has some submissions on his record. He also has some nasty stand-up. His last 2 coming by way of finish on the feet, one of which was a body kick, the other one a nasty head kick. So, kid's good everywhere, and can go the distance if need be. And as I said, at this point in the game, I just think that Marc Diakiese might be a little bit too inconsistent for my liking, especially with, as I said, he's listed as a favorite. I wouldn't feel confident in making that pick whatsoever. Anyways, moving up the card, 2, Eduarda Moura versus Montserrat Ruiz. Goddamn, dude, Eduarda Moura, cute little fucking thing she is. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Okay, I don't say that ever. I rarely ever comment on the physical appearance of female fighters. When I looked her up, I was like, holy shit, dude. Either way, so I hope she doesn't lose, but it is what it is. Now, not just that, she appears to be a very good fighter. She is 9-0. We're talking about a strawweight here also. Keep that in mind. She's only got 1 decision. That's like a 90% finish rate almost. It's wild to see from a strawweight. We typically don't see that. That's usually something reserved for the larger girls that are able to put other girls out with their shots. And Eduarda Moura has a mix of finishes. She can get submissions. She can get knockouts as well. She seems to be very capable everywhere. Montserrat Ruiz has had a couple of tough matchups. She just hasn't shown me enough that makes me think she's going to be able to get by this newcomer. Now, one thing I will point out, I would never fucking bet on this fight, and I'll tell you why. They've got Eduarda Moura as a minus 550 favorite. And whether or not she wins, I wouldn't feel comfortable betting on that. I don't know how they can do that for a woman that is a woman's fighter that is making her debut. We saw that at UFC 294. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I believe it was a Russian lady. She was like a minus 600, and she barely fucking skated by. And she maybe shouldn't even have gotten that decision. Do you know what I mean? So, at lower levels, in terms of the rankings for the women's divisions, seeing that kind of a betting line is fucking nuts to me, and I would not feel comfortable putting money on it whatsoever. Montserrat Ruiz is a tough little girl, okay? She's been... it took 3 rounds for her last opponent to finish her, who is an absolute savage on the ground. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I do know that Ruiz, in multiple fights, in many moments, has shown toughness, heart, durability, all that good shit. She does have the ability to make this a tough fight for Eduarda Moura, so just, keep that in mind. Minus 550 is a crazy fucking number for a newcomer as a female fighter. Moving up the card, 2, Angela Hill and Denise Gomez. All right, so Denise Gomez is 15 years younger than Angela Hill, which is crazy that we're starting to see these massive age gaps, okay? She is also a little savage, like real savage. And all year, every time she's fought, she's been an underdog, and I've picked her, and she's won. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to Stop doing that now. Her only loss in the UFC is to Loma Lookboonmee, who is very good on the feet, and she went to a decision with her, so it's not like she just got completely blown out of the fucking water. I just think that at this point, dude, she's going to be too powerful for Angela Hill. Denise Gomez hits hard. She knocks girls out, which, again, we don't typically see at the lower weight classes. And, dude, Hill is pushing 40. In a couple of months, she's going to be 39 years old. She is almost, it seems as though, and I'm not trying to be shitty, but she's like incapable of finishing a girl. And I think that oftentimes when a decision doesn't go her way and she's throwing her arms up and all this shit, which drives me crazy, by the way, but aside from that, I think the reason why decisions don't go her way is because of the optics of her shots that she lands. They're not hard, powerful, stopping shots. She's not really hurting these girls. She's just kind of pitter-pattering with them, and I don't think that she's going to be able to play that game with Denise Gomez. I mean, look, I know Mackenzie Dern was threatening her on the ground and with the takedown consistently throughout that fight, but Mackenzie Dern is not some top tier striker. At the very least, I wouldn't consider her one for the women's divisions, and Angela Hill got outstruck by her too in multiple of those rounds. So she had moments, and she usually does have moments in fights, but as I said, this stage in the game, I don't know that she can get it done. I don't know that she's never been knocked out, so maybe Denise Gomes is the first one to crack her chin, but and you know what? If this was a 5-round fight, I might lean towards Angela Hill, but even still, man, if she could finish girls, I would be much more willing to pick her going into fights. But the problem is that she can't, and she's a volume fighter who does not hit hard at all. You know what I mean? So it's unfortunate, but or for her it is anyways. I'm going to go with Denise Gomes. I'm very excited to see her actually continue to move up the ranks. I think that she's going to be pretty good in a few years' time. She is very young, 23 years old, as I said. But yeah, she could be the first one to crack her chin. Who knows? Denise Gomez does not ever really want to fight on the ground, but I don't see Angela Hill having the strength to take her down regardless. So anyways, moving up the card to the next fight, Vitor Petrino versus Modestas Bukauskus. Vitor Petrino is very good, undefeated, 9-0, 7 finishes, 6 of them by KO. Okay, he's made good on both of his UFC fights since his Contender Series. And I'm pretty sure one of them was a finish. One of them may have been a decision. I could be misremembering. But Bukauskus is on a good 4-fight win streak right now, which, after dropping 3 in a row, is actually very impressive to see. Bukauskus is not some, like, super old vet. He's been around for a while. He's got a good amount of fights. But to see a guy like that, who, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, he was the one that fucking had his knee almost completely ruined by Khalil Roundtree. To see him bounce back and get 4 in a row is pretty damn impressive. Although I will say some of his performances since then in these 4 fights have been a little underwhelming, or maybe not what I'm used to seeing from him. And that might be, you know, a durability issue after taking an injury like that. Who knows? But I am going to go with Vitor Petrino. I think that aggression could play a massive part here. Petrino's a pretty aggressive guy. He's also powerful. I just think that, as I said, Bukauskus hasn't been able to get a whole lot of finishes lately, or even at all. He's only got 1 in the UFC against a guy named Chuck Campbell, who hasn't been around for a significant period of time. Also, Bukauskus has been KO'd a couple of times. Now, I think 3 times in total. One of them was the sidekick from Khalil Roundtree, so 2 times where it's like knockout, not, you know, a TKO or whatever. So he doesn't have an insane chin, and I think that Vitor Petrino, if he's able to catch him, could finish him off. So I'm going with Vitor Petrino. Moving up the card, Victor Hugo, who, by the way, looks like a senior citizen, and Daniel Marcos. First Daniel Marcos part. Okay. This guy's making his fucking debut. He's got a full-on cul-de-sac. That's some of the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not trying to make fun of anybody that's got a cul-de-sac. But what I will say is, when you're 30 years old, you're older than me. I understand that some people just get unlucky in terms of genetics. Okay. However, oftentimes when you see a guy at that age balding that badly, what I think of is like Bradley Martin and guys like these. You know, it's a known side effect of a lot of steroids, or at least to my understanding. So I don't know if it's genetics or if he was on a whole bunch of shit in some of these smaller organizations, but who knows? He got a knee bar on the Contender Series against a guy who was ranked 16-1, which is pretty impressive. Okay, he's got 9 subs and 8 KOs. which is, as again, impressive considering he looks like a senior citizen. So he's still exciting to watch fight, which is awesome. Daniel Marcos, undefeated, 15-0. 8 KOs, never subbed, never knocked out. 2-0 in the UFC since his Contender Series fight with 1 finish. Also, one of those wins is over Davy fucking Grant, who, in my opinion, that's a very underrated win. Like, I don't think people give young guys that beat guys like Davy Grant, I don't think they get enough credit for it. Davy Grant is a tough motherfucker. He is, like, very tricky to deal with, right? And he's good everywhere. He can finish you on the ground. He can finish you on the feet. That's a tough matchup to have in, like, your second UFC fight. So considering he's got to win over Davy Grant, I rank Marcos pretty highly. I'm going to be going with the guy who doesn't look double his own age, okay? I will be going with Daniel Marcos, the guy who showed us he can hang with some good dudes, both on the feet, on the ground. He can stuff takedowns, all that good shit. Hugo has been knocked out twice, okay? And I do believe that if Marcos finds the chin, he will be powerful enough to hurt him and finish him off. So I'm going to be going with Daniel Marcos by TKO. Moving up the card now. This one is tricky, dude. This fight card is actually fucking really good. Really good. Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, okay? I tell you what, man. I know Fakhretdinov is very good. Clearly, he has shown that, okay? Brian Battle, that's an underrated win also, much like the Davy Grant one. Not because Brian Battle's some vet who's been along for crafty vet, around for a long time, knows how to find ways to win fights, all this shit, but he is very good in my opinion, and he continues to improve. You know, Rinat got him kind of early on in his UFC career, so who knows, that fight might go a little bit differently, especially considering it went to decision, but either way. Zaleski dos Santos has a fucking win over Benoit Saint-Denis. Now, I could be mistaken. I think he might have popped for that fight, but I don't think so because it would have been overturned. I can't remember. There was some level of controversy revolving that fight. I just can't remember what it is off of the top of my head. The only problem for me is that Zaleski dos Santos has not been able to get a finish since 2019, right? And he's lost a couple since then. So that might be why they have Rinat Fakhretdinov as a minus 355, because look, you can see Rinat Fakhretdinov's skill set. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos has an insane skill set also. And Fakhretdinov has only beaten, dude, Kevin Lee. Do you know what I mean? And as I said, Brian Battle, unranked. Kevin Lee, unranked. Kevin Lee hadn't fought in the UFC in like 3 years or something. His last fight was a fucking decision against an old Diego Sanchez, who at that point in his career had been completely mind-fucked by Josh Fabia. So I don't know how those 2 wins give Rinat Fakhretdinov a minus 355 number coming in against a guy who knocked out Sean Strickland with a fucking hook kick. Okay, that's insane to me. Either way, Dos Santos is a little older, and I guess considering they're at welterweight, that might be a bit of a factor, right? Because it's middleweight and up where the older guys seem to have not as hard of a time as the lower weight classes. But 170 isn't like some it's not like 135. Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna fucking go with Dos Santos, dude, simply because of the odds. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos can submit you. He can knock you out. He has crazy kicks and shit. Like, the dude is very good. And I think that there's been things that have maybe held back his career a little bit. He's been a little bit inactive. But I'm not going to pick a guy to bet on at minus 355 whose best win is a finish over Kevin Lee, who had been beaten by so many people before he tried to leave and go elsewhere and then come back and got fucked up again. Do you know what I mean? Like, Kevin Lee probably shouldn't even have been in there against Rinat Fakhretdinov, if we're going to be honest. Whereas Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, as I said, dude, win over Benoit Saint-Denis, which is phenomenal. Now, Saint-Denis is a lightweight, but still, dude, this is a weird one. There's some of the odds on these fights are nuts to me. I've seen multiple ones. We'll get to some of them later, but just because of the odds, I'm going to go with Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos as a massive underdog pick. I couldn't tell you how or why. I don't know, man. One's proven in the UFC, in my opinion, and one's not so much. So anyways, moving up the card. Elvis Brenner, I think that's how you say his name, dude, Elvis, versus Kainan Kruszczewski, okay? And that guy's from Brazil. He's got like a fucking Russian name or some shit. Either way, dude. Brenner on a 2-fight win streak in the UFC, but has won his last 4. obviously 2 of them coming outside the UFC. Got a finish last time out against Guram Kutteladze. Pretty good win. Young shoot-the-box guy. So you know this fight's going to be action fucking packed from start to finish. Dude's got 11 subs, 2 KOs, and one of those KOs came in his last fight, obviously. Has only lost by decision and not since 2020. Kainan is making his UFC debut. Won a Contender Series fight by rear naked choke. He's got 9 submission wins. This fight is a sleeper fight. This should be one of the Dana Whites. If you don't know, now you know. If this shit hits the mat, I'm very excited to see the scrambles and how these play out. Also, as I said, Elvis Brenner on the feet, shoot the box guy. We know exactly what we get from them every fucking time. And because he's maybe a little bit younger, hasn't taken as much damage, he doesn't go down quite as often as Charles Oliveira does. But I am going to go with Elvis Brenner here. These dudes, as I said, very aggro style, super pressure heavy. A lot of guys don't know how to deal with it when they get in there with them, because they're like, what the fuck, I thought there was an understanding that we're gonna maybe feel each other out for a second, whereas these shoot the box guys just go. And as I said, Elvis Brenner can knock you out or he can submit you. His striking seems to be getting better every time he fights, and with 11 submission victories against a guy whose MO is clearly to submit you, I don't know how well that's gonna work out for Kainan. Like, I don't know who I would favor when it hits the mat. And if I'm being honest, I don't think that either one of these guys is going to just submit each other. I don't think they're just going to take them down past guard and find a submission. I think that if somebody does get one, it'll be after somebody gets hurt first. And that's how I could see Elvis Brenner getting the job done. I could see him hurting Kainan on the feet and cinching up a submission while he's hurt to finish him off. Now, anyways, moving up the card, Ismail Bonfim versus Vince Pichel. Dude, another fucking phenomenal fight. All right. Bonfim kind of got checked in his last fight. I'm going to say, though, dude, Benoit Saint-Denis is incredible. Absolute savage, menace to society. And I'm not going to hold it against Ismail Bonfim. There was a lot of expectations, a lot of hype put on him that has nothing to do with him, right? And then, you know, he got finished relatively easily against Benoit Saint-Denis. So it is what it is. Obviously, he's still very fucking good. He's also young enough that I do believe he would go back and make adjustments and improvements to make sure that that doesn't happen to him again, or at least to the best of his ability. Vince Pichel's 40 years old, and we are at lightweight now, which I do think that makes a bit of a difference here. Now, it's not like Vince Pichel's been losing, right? He's not like old age and we're seeing him get fucked up every time out. He's actually winning more than he's losing still, and he hasn't even been finished, if I'm not mistaken. He hasn't gotten a finish in 6.5 years. I'm going to go with Bonfim to get the job done. He is capable of going all the rounds. He's got 6 decision victories. He's good on the ground. He has power on the feet. I could see him winning by decision just because Vince Pichel has been proven to be very hard to finish. And he, you know, even still at 40 years old. So I don't think it's just going to be a walk in the park. Even though, you know, the odds are insane on this fight also. But moving up the card, Rodolfo Vieira versus Armen Petrosyan. Man, Rodolfo Vieira, dude, he got lucky last. I swear to fucking God. Obviously not the fact that he locked up the submission. I complain about this every time either Rodolfo Vieira or Cody Brundage fights. Cody Brundage has the worst fucking IQ in the UFC, and I don't even mean just fight IQ. I mean, he might be packing extra chromosomes. He hurt Rodolfo on the feet. And I said in my picks video for that fight, I said, I think Cody Brundage is going to hurt Rodolfo Vieira on the feet. And I don't think he's going to follow him there. I think he's going to make him get back up. And I think that he'll continue to hurt him on the feet. And maybe at the, you know, 3rd or 4th time when Rodolfo Vieira goes down to pull guard, he might be hurt enough that then Cody Brundage will jump on top of him and finish him off. But what does Cody Brundage do? He drops him once and jumps on top of him into his guard and gets fucking submitted like an idiot. So Rodolfo Vieira got lucky that there was a dumb fuck that was willing to jump into the guard with him, okay? Armen is a way better striker than Cody Brundage. Maybe not as powerful, but definitely a better striker, technically speaking. He has lost only one of his last 5 to Kyle Borralho, who is a fucking savage, and that fight went to decision, and considering Kyle Borralho's got quite a few finishes on his record, it's pretty impressive. It wasn't like he just got completely blown out of the water. Kyle Borralho's also a massive dude. Strong, powerful, very good on the ground, all that shit. So, I think I'm going to give the exact same prediction for Cody Brundage that I did for Cody Brundage, and I'm going to do that for Armen Petrosyan. I think he's going to hurt Rodolfo Vieira a few times, stays away from him, poking at range with kicks and shit like that, keeping Rodolfo away from him, not get tied up in knots, and then I think Vieira will eventually gas out, and then I think that Armen Petrosyan will feel safe enough to finish off the job. Moving up the card too, Kyle Borralho and Abus Magomedov. Dude, this fight is fucking phenomenal. phenomenal. I'm going to go with Kyle Borralho. Obviously, Abus Magomedov is very good for about 3 minutes, okay? Which is crazy that happened. I know Sean Strickland applies forward pressure, but in that first round, he wasn't even real heavy on the pressure. He was more or less taking center, but not pushing forward, and Abus was landing big shots on. Abus Magomedov has decision victories. Do you know what I mean? It's just strange. But either way, dude, how about this? Kyle Borralho went to a decision in a fucking submission grappling match against Jailton Almeida. So Abus Magomedov might be able to do something on the feet for a couple of minutes. I don't think he does a fucking thing to Kyle Borralho on the ground. And I don't even know if it's going to be in his game plan like it was for Sean Strickland, right? He tried to take Strickland down. I think if he tries to take Kyle Borralho down, he's going to be in trouble. So I think that Kyle finishes him either like mid-late second round or early in the third round. I don't think Abus Magomedov finds much success almost anywhere. Kyle is bigger, longer than Sean, at least from memory. And he's powerful, good ground control, and is capable enough on the feet to not just get blown out of the fucking water. I do think that he might end up submitting Abus Magomedov. Moving up the card too, Rodrigo Nascimento versus Dalby. Okay. Hopefully this fight ends quickly. Otherwise we'll be in for a slow and boring one. I don't think very highly of Dalby's skills at all. I'm not trying to be a dickhead. He's obviously capable of knocking guys out once in a while, but it's not even like a super consistent thing, especially since he's been in the UFC. Also, this is a rematch, and I have no fucking idea why. Who was clamoring for this rematch that happened in the UFC, by the way? It wasn't like they fought a long time ago in some obscure fucking organization. They fought in the UFC in 2020. So I don't know why this is like, why this fight was even made. Dalby's got strangled. And he did show some improvements in his grappling, right? He was able to crucifix Josh Parisian. Josh Parisian's not very good, one. And two, there's no way he's catching up to Nascimento's level of grappling. Ever. That's just not happening. He doesn't have enough time. Nascimento's probably been grappling since he could fucking walk. You know what I mean? So, I think he'll submit him again. You know, I think Nascimento will catch Dalby in a submission, and that's about all I'm going to say. I hope that happens earlier rather than later, because these guys will both slow down. Moving up the card, Gabriel BONFIM versus Nicolas Dalby. Very fun fight also. These fucking odds are crazy, though. As I said multiple times throughout this video. Gabriel BONFIM is a minus 600. And I know that he's looked good. You know what I mean? And he's gotten multiple finishes in the UFC. All finishes in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 100% finish rate since joining the UFC. Has good power on the feet. Can get a bit reckless at times. That's why I don't quite understand how you're going to put this dude at that crazy of a favorite. I'm not saying he's not going to win. But that's nuts. And we saw him in his last fight. I think Trevin Giles, I think it was against. I just fucking straight up, like, the record skipped there for a second. I apologize for that, but either way. Trevin Giles isn't that good, you know? And he got tagged a couple of times. Now, obviously, he ultimately ended up finishing him, and he hits hard as fuck. But he's really aggressive, and he's not defensively sound. He's barely even fundamentally sound. Sometimes when he's throwing shots, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But, that being said, Nicolas Dalby's getting a little bit up there in age. He has not gotten a finish in the UFC, but he is on a 3-fight win streak. His last finish was 4 years ago in Cage Warriors. The problem I see for Nicolas Dalby is that he's not going to have the power to keep Gabriel BONFIM off of him, I don't think. Now, if Dalby can survive the first round or two, make it ugly, maybe tag him a couple of times with good shots, more of an accumulative effect, right? Maybe he can gas him out and then win a decision or eke by in a decision or something like that, but I don't know that he has the power to keep BONFIM off of him. And Nicolas Dalby has actually been submitted before. Not officially, because it was overturned to a no contest, but he was finished by Jesse Ronson, and I just feel like if Jesse Ronson can sub you, then Gabriel BONFIM can sub you. You know what I mean? So, anyways, moving up the card, main event time, Jailton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. Okay, dude, I have been going back and forth on this one so fucking much. In theory, obviously, the logical conclusion is that Jailton Almeida wins. The problem by submission, right, takes him down and submits him. The problem that I have is that Almeida sometimes allows guys to get back up. So 4 of his 6 UFC fights, he needed more than one takedown. With a lot of these really good jiu-jitsu guys, it's always like, oh, if he just gets you down, that's a wrap. Not really the case. In some of the fights he needed 3, and one of them he needed 2. There's 2 fights where he's needed 1 takedown, and I can't remember who it was against. Jairzinho Rozenstruik and one other one. Lewis is going to outweigh him significantly. Oh, and by the way, he did get Biggie Boy. Fuck, I just literally said his name and then forgot. Either way, dude. Biggie Boy. You know how the fuck I'm talking about. Rozenstruik. He did take him down and then finish him the first time he took him down, but he had to attempt a couple of times. But so he wasn't able to get it right away is my point. Either way, Lewis is going to significantly outweigh him. Also, it's just Derek fucking Lewis, dude. And I picked him to beat the last guy he fought. Can't remember his name off the top of my head either. Sorry, my brain's not working that great today. Either way. And he did it. He went out there and fucking jump kneed the... Like, I mean, he just pulls shit out of his ass sometimes, man. And I could imagine a world where Jailton Almeida throws one of those lazy front kicks up the middle where his hands are completely down at his waist and he's just leaning back a bit, right? Trying to get out of range from a counter shot. Derek Lewis will just fucking put all of his weight momentum forward, and I could just see him coming over the top with a huge overhand right and flatlining him, okay? Look, Sergey Spivak obviously was able to completely demolish Derek Lewis on the ground, but I will say Spivak's quite a bit bigger than Jailton Almeida 1, and I would feel pretty confident in saying that while he might not be as good as a submission grappler as Jailton Almeida, I think his ability to get the fight there might be a bit better. Just simply because of he's bigger, the throws that he's good, right? Now, he's not good at closing distance, clearly. We just saw that against Cyril Gane. Not that Derek Lewis is anything like Cyril Gane, but either way. And then the grappler before that he fought was Curtis Blades, right? And he just ultra patient, waited. As soon as Curtis Blades shot, I think it was in the second round, he fucking killed him, you know? And then if you go look at some of the other grapplers that he's fought against, Alexei Oleinik before that wasn't able to finish him on the ground because Derek Lewis just stands up, bro. He just stands up, okay? He got a questionable decision over Alir Latifi, but the reason he even went to a decision was because he was able to stay safe enough on the ground and stand up enough that he was able to land some shit on the feet. So if you actually look at all of the grapplers that he's fought and weighed out how many times he's been dominated versus not, he's looking pretty good, man. The only 2 guys on the ground off the top of my head that have really fucking dominated him were Daniel Cormier and Sergey Spivak. You know what I mean? And as I said, Spivak's a lot bigger than Jailton Almeida. Daniel Cormier is a fucking Olympic wrestler, dude. You know what I mean? That guy can take you down like fucking no tomorrow. Also, he chain wrestles. He's got a worse takedown percentage than Jailton Almeida. But it's because if he doesn't get you down, he doesn't just disengage and then try again in a little bit. He's going to chain shit together. And that's his MO. Like, he doesn't care if he misses one. He'll get you in the next 2. I also think that once it hits the mat, Daniel Cormier's top pressure... No, I'm not going to say that. Jailton Almeida has very good top pressure. I just think that the ability to get it to the ground, right? Like, we saw Biggie Boy stuff a takedown. If Derek Lewis stuffs a takedown, I don't think he's just going to wait for a second one. Like, I could see it getting real fucking crazy. And Jailton Almeida, unlike Sergey Spivak, feels relatively confident on the feet. Like, he is not panic shooting, right? He'll stick it out on the feet for a little bit. As I said, those lazy front kicks to the face he throws, not like, he's not a complete and total fish out of water. Or at the very least, he doesn't feel like he is. So I could see him maybe sticking around on the feet a little too long in between takedown attempts because he doesn't really chain wrestle all that much. I could see Derek Lewis implementing a very similar game plan to the one he did against Curtis Blades and just kind of waiting, hands low. Because I don't think he's going to fear Jailton Almeida's ability on the feet. I don't think he's going to be like, oh, fuck, this guy's going to knock me out. He's going to keep his hands low. And he'll know exactly what Jailton Almeida wants to do. Fucking hell, dude. Also, Jailton Almeida is a minus 500. This is, again, we've seen Derek Lewis time and time again just fuck dudes up when he's losing or when he should lose, you know? And his best win is against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who is a more technical striker than Derek Lewis. But he's like a worse fighter overall, which is a weird thing to say. but he's lost to guys that Derek Lewis has flatlined. He hasn't really had a whole lot of success in the UFC. I don't think his fight IQ is very fucking high either, especially considering he's trying to like just nicely kickbox with Francis Ngannou as if that's a good fucking game plan. Like it's weird, man. If the odds were closer, dude, you know what? I'll just say this. Logically speaking, if you were trying to just get picks correct or whatever, obviously pick Jailton Almeida. For fucking fun, and also from a betting standpoint, Derek Lewis by knockout, like, how can you not want to sprinkle a little bit on that every time we fuck? It's, either way. Also, he's going to outweigh Jailton Almeida by 30 pounds roughly. I think it was 29 pounds at weigh-in, so he's not a small dude. And by the way, he looked fucking dehydrated at weigh-ins. So he's not going to weigh 265 in the cage. He'll probably weigh like 280, So he's going to have more than 29 pounds. He'll probably have closer to like 45, 50 pounds on Jailton Almeida. And Jailton Almeida is going to have to close the distance. Derek Lewis is a big guy who just stands up, dude, against really good grapplers on a regular basis. So Lewis by knockout, fuck it, dude, just for fun. Anyways, obviously, I think very highly of Jailton Almeida, and I kind of want him to get the win because I think it would be interesting to see him matched up against the top guys at heavyweight. I think it'd be very interesting to see him against Cyril Gane, Tom Aspinall, guys like this, but either way, dude. I feel like he would be better at light heavyweight, and that's crazy to say considering the amount of success that he's had, but when you weigh like 230, you're very close to what a lot of light heavyweights weigh, so either way, dude. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.